Deputy Colm Keaveney, you've 10 minutes.
Look, I welcome the measure being proposed in the referendum. There can be little reasoned or objective opposition to it, except to wonder, Minister, why didn't we reduce it to the age of 18? And it's clear that the government have apparently taken the maxim from Animal Farm that all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others, as an instruction rather than as an ironic statement. Because, you see, Minister, you're very good at singling out young people when it comes to cuts in their social protection. You were very quick in your crusade to attack 18-year-olds who are specifically targeted by Labour in terms of strategic attacks on young people. But that's not going to distract us from supporting this referendum, because in a presidential election, it ought to be up to the electorate to determine whether a person, they're 18, 21, 35, is sufficiently mature to hold national office. And of course, maturity is not simply a matter of age, because I meet many 18-year-olds who can demonstrate more maturity than many of the ministers who sit on that side of the House. I have, though, one question, Minister. Is this it? Is this the extent of the democratic revolution? Is this it? Is this what it's all about? You put €35 million on the table to run a referendum. And this is in light of the fact that you have never once spent in the lifetime of this government the ring-fence money, the €35 million for mental health. There are young people, 18-year-olds, child, adolescent mental health services in this country, waiting years for services. And this is the extent of the democratic revolution. You haven't spent one penny of that ring-fence money. You failed to honour the protection of the most vulnerable people. And this is your flagship political reform. I'm completely underwhelmed by your democratic revolution, Minister. I'm not alone, because the public are completely underwhelmed with the government. See, Minister, in the various discussions I've had with my constituency and beyond, I found a broad awareness around the issue of the marriage referendum that's taking place, but nobody knows anything about this proposal. And it says an awful lot about the characteristic of this government, that they use this as some form of fig leaf on political constitutional reform. It is underwhelming. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. But that can't distract us and distract this party from supporting the engagement of young people. Because, Minister, many people have confessed to me about the second referendum an incredible, a paucity of ambition in this government. And they've asked me on the doorstep, is that it? Is this all the government had to offer us in terms of political constitutional reform? Because you had a glorious opportunity when it came to May to put to the people a referendum on the public ownership of Irish water. When I knock on a door on a Saturday afternoon and say, will you come out and vote and ensure that the participation of young, they say to me, is that it? Is that all the government had to offer us? That's pathetic. One deputy has described it as being underwhelming. I have to say that I agree. The convention, truth be told, was given a very limited range of subject matters to look at. And like this government, there was nothing too radical in the agenda for the Constitutional Convention. And that was strategically the way, because it was the status quo that was going to be protected. Do not let the Constitutional Convention run away with itself, give it a limited mandate, and make sure that the network and the club upstairs on the ministerial offices will continue as always had been the case before. The democratic revolution was only going to be words on a programme for government, but it was never going to be in action. And what you've managed to do is limit their brief. You came up with well-reasoned arguments why they shouldn't be ambitious. And you completely offered an underwhelming agenda to the Constitutional Convention that this is the best of the political constitutional reform in this country after where we've come from and the appetite of the people in this country for whole-scale reform. This is it. This is it. You reduce the participation age down to 21.
A joke.
The gusto in which you took and attacked core rates of social protection for vulnerable people. And, you know, I look across the chamber and I look at a party that claims to be, to propose as their core principle an issue of equality. What chance has an 18 or 19-year-old who has had their social protection pulled off them by Joan Burton, what chance have they got to run for the president of this country if they're on €100 a week? Begs the question, if this is the extent, the summit of your ambition for political reform, constitutional reform, the public are gunning for you on this one. Now, we have a job of work to do on this side of the House because I want to see this pass. But the public have no idea what's going on here. And I doubt that even many of the backbenchers in government have any idea what's going on in this respect, because look at their participation in this debate. On the Constitutional Convention, I have to say some of the recommendations that didn't happen, or should have happened, were on the area of social issues. Yes, we see the marriage referendum was born out of the Constitutional Convention. However, we didn't see any progress on the issue of blasphemy. And, you know, this was despite the fact that both Fine Gael and Labour stood in front of the people in 2011 and said that they would tackle this wholeheartedly. There is no political reform in this. Now, I appreciate, Minister, that it's hard to know who's frightened here in government on this issue, particularly the issue of your failure to tackle the issue of blasphemy. It's appalling. However, can I go back again to the convention and the issue, the subject matter of political reform? If this is the extent of the ambition of this government, then I have to say, Minister, that the public see through it. They see it as a... I'll move it a bit.